Over a period of 1,000 years, the Jedi had resided as peacekeepers of the galaxy, but whilst the Jedi Order failed to develop, the Sith were acting in the shadows, surviving on their rule of two. When the turn of the Sith fell to Darth Sidious, the disguised Senator of Naboo chose that it was the Sith's turn to emerge from the shadows, and breaking the rule of two, he decided he wanted to combine the powers of the Force with those of the Nightsisters, and selected the Zabrak Maul to become his apprentice. Killing his Master Plagueis to restore the rule of two, the plans of the Sith were somewhat scuppered by the defeat of Maul at the hands of Jedi padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he chose the fallen Jedi Dooku as Maul's replacement. Later during the waning days of the Republic, Maul is found on the planet of Lotho Minor by his lost brother Savage Opress, and together they would try but fail to avenge Sidious. But what if Palpatine had chosen to train Savage Opress instead? How powerful would Savage become? Would Dooku become Palpatine's apprentice, or choose a different path? As you'll find out, the choosing of Savage could have changed the history of the Sith. Senator Palpatine had just departed from the comfort of Plagueis' apartment on Coruscant, but the Sith apprentice had been deliberately vague to his master, as he soon sought to displace him. Landing in the red mists of the planet of Dathomir, the Sith Lord bows to Mother Talzin, and she introduces him to potential candidates for a role of his apprentice. Sidious wanted to see the Night Brothers and Nightsisters in action, and Talzin set up a variety of trials to assess their abilities. Secretly preserving Maul from the tests, it is her other promising son Savage Opress that reigns victorious, and ordering him to wait on Naboo, Palpatine returned to Coruscant to kill his master. Knowing he would struggle to defeat his master in any conventional manner, he decided to take him to visit a Mon Calamari ballet performance, where Plagueis got so intoxicated he finally fell asleep for the first time in years. After Palpatine coldly killed his master with Sith lightning, the new Sith Lord waited for any developments concerning the Trade Federation's blockade by flying to Naboo, where he could keep a close eye on proceedings, and subjected his new apprentice to some brutal Sith training. Learning to embrace the pain of the Sith's torture methods, Savage was helped by the enhancements made to him by the Nightsisters, and Palpatine was soon impressed enough with his skills to entrust him with trying to kill the Jedi of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Tracking Queen Amidala's ship to the desert planet of Tatooine, the Zabrak stomped out of a Sith infiltrator and onto the sand dunes, eager for Jedi blood on his lightsaber, and used his macro binoculars to identify his target. In the distant town of Mos Espa, the civilians lay asleep in the thick of night, until Savage Opress dropped from his speeder and shook the ground with his landing. Anyone who had the misfortune of crossing his path was immediately shredded into pieces, and making his way to the Jedi he had spotted, Qui-Gon emerged with his sweeping robes and ignited his blade to clash with the Zabrak. Blocking the brutal power of Savage, Obi-Wan arrived to help his master, and the two Jedi allow for Anakin, Padme and the droids to escape to the Queen's starship. In Watto's workshop, the Toydarian gazed upwards at the escaping ship and knew that the transmitter chips within the slaves would prevent their departure, so watched as they hovered above the battling Jedi. Leaping above to the ramp of the ship, Qui-Gon was aware of the control of the slavers, and looked as Savage moved out of the settlement, and the Jedi Master knew they needed a change of plan. Obi-Wan could sense his master about to utilise one of his darker tactics, and did not bother trying to stop him as he moved from the safety of the ship, then back into Mos Espa to look for Watto in his workshop. The Toydarian slaver looked at the Jedi in confusion, having only expected to see him at the pod race the following day, and felt his throat beginning to constrict as Qui-Gon ordered him to remove the transmitter chips from the two Skywalkers. The slaver's life continued to remain in the balance, when he finally relented and used his deactivation wand to ensure the chips would not activate, and Anakin and Shmi were freed from their enslavement. Anakin promised that he would one day return to free the entire planet from the control of the slaves, and together they ventured back to Coruscant. But as they departed the planet, Savage had not given up in his pursuit and was waiting for the Jedi in his starship, then firing at the Queen's ship. Rick Oley warned the passengers to brace themselves for a difficult flight. Swerving from side to side in an attempt to break the Sith's target lock, Savage is relentless in his pursuit, and being a mere passenger did not sit well with Anakin, who unbuckled himself to enter the cockpit and began to take over the controls from Rick Oley. Qui-Gon told the Queen to trust in Anakin, and the future Chosen One changed the position of the ship to attack, completely surprising Savage, who was forced to retreat. The failure of the Sith Apprentice is soon felt by his master on Coruscant, and Sidious ordered him to correct his mistake before he was replaced. Turning to the arriving ship outside of his building, Palpatine took the turbo lift down to greet Queen Amidala, hiding his disgust at the survival of the Jedi, and in particular Qui-Gon Jinn, whom his fallen master had warned him about. Entering the Senate arena, the Sith Lord carefully manipulated the other politicians, and especially Queen Amidala, whom he needed to propose a vote of no confidence. Knowing they would soon get the role of Supreme Chancellor, the Sith Lord ordered his apprentice to move into position with the Trade Federation, and this time he would kill the Jedi. That is it for part 1 of What If Savage Opress was Palpatine's apprentice. If you'd like to see a part 2 soon, please like this video, turn on the notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, as well as on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.